So the news has come out that Her Royal Highness La Infanta Elena, she's the eldest daughter of King Juan Carlos and the eldest sister of King Felipe. She visited Garabandal and met with one of the visionaries. This has been reported in the Info Vaticana in Spain on the Spanish Catholic news media. Now they said out of respect they're not going to give details about her visit. I just thought one thing was interesting about her visit. Her title, she was given the title Duchess of Lugo. And if people will remember, in Lugo you have, in the cathedral, probably the longest running Eucharistic adoration in the world. They claim to be there's been Eucharistic adoration there for 1,000 years. And when you go into the cathedral, I visited there when I was on the Camino. They have this massive monstrance, and it's quite an incredible place to visit. And now that she has gone to Garabandal, she has met with one of the visionaries. It's just, I thought it was interesting that tie together, that she, the Duchess of Lugo, visits Garabandal. I mean, for me, and I can't understand why the church hasn't approved Garabandal. It beggars belief why church authorities have not done due diligence and approved the apparitions in Garabandal, simply because we see them being played out in the church today. I mean, any reasonable person with any level of common sense would say, okay, the girls couldn't have invented what they were doing in the early 1960s. And the messages that they received, we see being played out in the church today. Before our very eyes. Less and less importance is being given to the Eucharist. And I mean, and I think I'm the level-headed, sensible type of person. I like to question and prod things. But when it comes to Garabandal, which I've been reading about for 30 years, I can't understand why Garabandal isn't bigger. Why people are not seeing what is happening there. It's on the level of Fatima. It's on the level of all great apparition Marian sites, and Our Lady is there coming to give us a warning. She came to give us a warning, and this was in the early 1960s. I mean, especially her warning to the clergy. Can we not say? I mean, like. She came in the early 1960s. What happened over the next decades? Thousands, tens of thousands of priests leave the church. Utter confusion in the church. Utter confusion in the clergy. The clergy and it was all there in the messages of Garabandal. And there are other people that are far bigger experts in Garabandal that could tell you a lot more about it. But I mean, to any simple-minded person reading the messages of Garabandal in today's light, you would say, well, gosh, they were way before their time talking about what was going to happen in the church, especially when it comes to the Eucharist, especially when it comes to the faith. The church has one mission: the salvation of the soul. Do we even take that mission seriously? Do priests and bishops take that message seriously? To lead, to form, to help. And again, 4 young, uneducated girls in Garabandal in the early 1960s were telling, prophesying, giving messages way before events that actually played out in the world. And so there's I mean, anybody reading that, and when you look at the documentary Unstoppable Waterfall, you're kind of left there thinking, gosh, this message, this is for our times. But anyway, I just thought that visit of La Infanta Elena, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Lugo. I thought it was interesting that she goes to Garabandal because of her title, Duchess of Lugo, and because of the connection to the Eucharist in Lugo. I do think that, you know, there's more to this story than meets the eye. And I do think all of these things are coming together for a reason. But I just thought I'd mention that. And I do ask people to read the messages of Garabandal that Our Lady gave in the early 1960s. You know, especially when it comes to the message on the clergy, many priests and many bishops. Look up that message. I mean, this is what, when you think about it, I mean, in the early 1960s, who would dare say this? I mean, Catholic Spain had come out from a Spanish Civil War. It just didn't make sense to give that message then. To make up a message like that then. You know, how could you say this, that many priests and many bishops are leading? So, you know, when you read that message given at that moment in time in Spain, rural Spain, up in the mountains, young girls, they weren't going to make themselves friends with bishops and priests in the Spanish church. Probably why the message of Garabandal has never been approved. Because you're giving a message. What? You're saying that we're doing that? Hold on a second. Who are you, little girls, giving us a message like this? No, not approved. Not approved. How dare you challenge us? How dare you? But do you know what? It wasn't the girls. It was our Blessed Mother calling priests and bishops out. And while it mightn't have made sense in the early 1960s, and people will have rejected it and brushed it under the carpet, it's not supernatural, blah, 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 again. Look at today in the church. Look at today, the state of the church. Look at how we treat the body, blood, soul and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ. We will give it out to anybody. Oh, you Mr. Abortion politician. Oh, you're funding abortion and passing legislation on abortion. Look, it's your private conscience. Who are we to judge you? Quietly, quietly, let's destroy the unborn. Quietly, quietly, let's destroy the elderly. Quietly, quietly, let's destroy the faith. Like, really, think about it. Think about it. I can understand why the church was uneasy about the messages of Garabandal in the 60s. Today, like, any normal person will say, well, look what the girls were saying in the early 1960s has played out in the church. Look where we are. Look where we are. You know, we've arrived to the state in France where they put abortion into their constitution, the right to murder your unborn child. And then they do an opening Olympics, openly mocking mockery aside, it was like a drag queen contest or something. I don't know. Again, I didn't watch it. I just saw the social media reaction to it. Look where we are, guys. And then the next day, all of Paris in darkness and only Sacré-Cœur illuminated. You know, maybe that's a message in itself. You know, I think it's time for the church to re-examine the messages of Garabandal, which, as I said, all I can say, any normal Catholic sees them playing out in the church today. Look at Unstoppable Waterfall, the documentary they've done, and actually look at, there's 2 documentaries that they did, and I thought they were very good. I think anybody reasonable will say, look, this has to be examined. That's my thoughts anyway. So just thought that connection was interesting. It's interesting to see the royal family going to Garabandal and meeting with the visionaries. I do think, it's not that I think, I'm convinced that Garabandal is real. But then that's my personal opinion. In the sense that it's a warning. Garabandal is a warning. More than anything else, it's a warning. Well, I suppose Our Lady's been warning us for decades. She's been warning us in Fatima. She's been warning us in Garabandal. She's been warning us in Akita. We hear that Sister Asagawa is dying at the moment. She's been Like, if she is a real mother, wouldn't a real mother warn her children that are in danger? Wouldn't she? Wouldn't she warn you? You know, if she would. And she has been, La Salette and countless other times, warning us. And in a very strange way, Garabandal is a very clear warning. You know, this is what you're doing is destroying, is you're putting your soul in danger. The church doesn't believe that you can actually, you can be eternally lost. Like, that's the truth of it. The church does not believe. Otherwise, the Pope would never say, it's my personal opinion, but I like to think of hell as empty. And why theologically, in a theology room, we can, in a university setting, we can go through the nuances of that type of discussion. For the Pope to come out to the world and say, I like to think hell is empty, it's like saying, don't take it too seriously. Let's not take this thing, hell, too seriously. I like to think of it as empty. At the head of the Catholic Church. And no wonder we have the mission of divine mercy, coming out with very stark statements that the church doesn't want to listen to. And again, I don't want to divide the church, I don't want to cause. But Christ didn't die on a cross for nothing. He came to tell us that to work on your salvation is serious business. You can be. And we hear this in the messages of Garabandal. And I think we should be taking our faith seriously. I think we should be taking the Eucharist seriously. Not just, also taking seriously how we prepare ourselves to receive the Eucharist and how we live our lives conformed to what Christ wants us to do. But then I'm the simpleton here. As I said, do we actually introduce people into the spiritual life, to know Christ? Do we actually teach the faith? Do we actually teach the faith? Do we take it seriously? Do we? Do we? The messages of Garabandal have proven themselves they stand on their own merit. They have proven themselves to have been realized in the church. If really, like, it's a wake-up call. Anyway, God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.